a pet at home? Just put your hands down. Raise your hand if it's a cat. Raise your hand if it's a dog. Raise your hand if it's both. Okay. So, has anyone ever like adopted their dog from a shelter? Okay, cool. So we're gonna read a story about a puppy who was once a stray dog, and he was adopted. So stray dog, so he once didn't have a home and someone rescued him. So, we're gonna read about a puppy. It's called The Best Christmas Present of All.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
It's a cute story. You guys will like it. Buster was a small dog with a black patch over one eye. He lived with Mr. Merriweather, who had taken him in when he was a stray. Buster loved his owner and their snug home. And when Mr. Merriweather's grandchildren came to visit, they would all go for long walks in the park together. Jake, Becky, and Rose would run with Buster and give him lots of treats.
I wonder what type of dog it is.
I don't know. One day, when Jake got out Buster's leash as usual, Mr. Merriweather shook his head. "Sorry, children," he said. "I'm not feeling well. Take Buster out in the yard instead." After that, Mr. Merriweather took Buster only for short walks, but Buster didn't mind. He was happy enough just living quietly at home with his friend. So you guys take your dogs on walks?
Yeah. My dog follows me through my yard.
Oh, my dogs do that to me too.
My dog drags me.
Well, I guess that's why you never put
My
my
cousin's dog dragged me across almost the whole entire backyard, and it's big.
Alright,
Really?
eyes back on the book. Then everything changed. One morning, Mr. Merriweather did not come downstairs for breakfast. So what do you think? Mr. Merriweather, he told his grandkids to take the dog out, and he usually played with them, and now he just doesn't come downstairs. What do you think is up?
That the dog might leave because nobody will play with him.
Okay, any other ideas? What do you think?
He's like
Dying, I guess?
because Mr.
Raise your hand. What, Luke?
Mr.
Merriweather?
Mr. Merriweather, he might be getting hot because he's
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
behind the dog.
What do you think, Claire?
He's sick.
Okay, let's find out. Buster whined and scratched at the kitchen door. Though he could hear Mr. Merriweather's faint voice from upstairs, the old man did not come down. By raising your hand, what do you think the word faint means? Cole?
Like it's not very loud.
Right,
It's like whispering.
exactly. Later that morning, Mr. Merriweather's daughter Mary arrived. As she gave Buster his breakfast, a big white van with a red cross on it pulled up in front of the house. So, you all know what the van is with the red cross on it?
It's an ambulance.
So it's an ambulance. There are vans with the red cross, as in the red cross
Yeah.
who helps people.
Two
But
snakes going up on it. Or something.
yeah,
Some of them,
right.
some of them just like.
Buster saw Mr. Merriweather being carried downstairs on a stretcher. He reached over to pet Buster, but before the little dog could lick his hand, Mr. Merriweather was taken outside to the white van.
No, doggy.
"It will be okay, Buster," Mary said as she fastened his leash and walked him out to the car. But Buster pulled away. He was frightened and confused. Once, long ago, some people had put him in a car and driven to a strange part of town, where they left him all alone. So that's how Buster was once a stray dog. His-
Nobody's trying to strangle himself.
No, he doesn't. His first family, you know, like they just
He
said,
wants to get
Yeah,
out.
drove to a bad part of town and just left him there.
Wait, that's his first family? They drove him.
Yep. So he's having a flashback here, I believe.
Flashback.
All right. Mary picked up Buster and put him on the back seat. Buster looked sadly out the window at his home as they drove away. Where had Mr. Merriweather gone? Where do you think Mr.
I
Merriweather
don't
went?
know.
All right. At last, the car swung into a driveway and Mary opened the back door. "It's Buster," the children shouted as they rushed out of the house. "Grandpa has had a heart attack," said Mary. He'll be in the hospital for a while, so we're going to take care of Buster. The children looked sad, but they petted Buster and offered him a cookie. Can we take him for a walk? Asked Rose, tugging at his leash. But Buster was still scared. The children were making so much noise that he wanted to get away from them and go back to Mr. Merriweather.
What's that stuff on the kid's finger?
It's a cookie.
It's the cookie. What is a heart?
So a heart attack is like, your heart beats. So when you have a heart attack, your heart will stop beating or it either beats really, really fast and your body just can't keep up with it.
Can you talk?
You can talk a little bit, but I'm not very clear. I know you're in a lot of pain. Buster wriggled and pulled until his collar came off. Then before anyone could stop him, he ran down the driveway and into the street. Buster was going home, but this part of town was unfamiliar to him, and some of the shoppers rushing along the sidewalks bumped into the little dog. A few people even yelled at him as he ran by. Their angry voices reminded Buster of the time when he was astray. No one shouted at him when he was with Mr. Merriweather.
Because nobody really came to the house.
At long last, he came to the very park where Mr. Merriweather and the children had taken him for walks. He dashed through the playground and down to the pond, just in case Mr. Merriweather was there on his favorite bench, but he wasn't.
Why would he be there?
The dog doesn't know.
Oh,
Oh.
another dog.
Yeah, so let's see what this dog has to say. Buster sat down and hung his head. Suddenly, a big dog ran up to him. He sniffed Buster and began to growl. "Get lost, Mutt," he barked as he chased Buster to the edge of the park before racing off again. Buster had to stop and rest. So much had happened to him that day, and he was tired and hungry. But there, right ahead, was his home. He ran up to it happily. The front gate was shut, so he jumped right over the wall.
He doesn't want that car.
All right, so where do you think Buster is now by looking at the picture?
Living room, little place.
Think he's back home, Mr. Merriweather's house?
Yeah,
But right here inside.
The house looked cold and empty. Buster scratched at the door, but Mr. Merriweather didn't come. Buster ran around to the back and looked through the low windows. No lights were on, no food was on the table, and then he knew that Mr. Merriweather was not there at all. It was raining hard now. Buster thought of the children and their warm hugs and delicious treats. But though he had found his way home, he didn't remember how to get back to them. He was lost again.
No, Mr.
Or maybe you can just sit there.
A car pulled up in front of the house. Buster ran into the bushes to hide. "Buster, Buster," called the three worried voices. "Are you there, Buster?" It was the children. Buster crawled out, his stumpy tail wagging for the first time that day. Jake picked him up and hugged him. Buster felt warm in his arms. "You're coming home with us, Buster," cried Rose. And all the way back in the car, she fed Buster treat after treat and stroked his wet fur. Buster never ran away again, though he still missed his old friend. Then one special winter day, Buster had a surprise.
Mr.
Merriweather.
You think so?
Yeah, I know so.
But they
His
didn't tell the
parents.
dog. Like, they didn't tell the dog.
parents.
All right, let's see
Wait,
what.
new dog friend.
Well, let's see what his surprise is.
Promise me.
His parents.
The front door opened, and there he was. "I've missed you, Buster," Mr. Merriweather whispered, hugging the little dog tightly. "Grandpa's coming to live with us," said Becky. "Won't that be great?" Buster wagged his tail and licked Mr. Merriweather's face. This was the best Christmas present of all.
I would want to live in his house, not in their house.
Well, now Mr. Merriweather's living with his family. Since he had a heart attack, he's probably a little more weak now, and
Yeah,
his
someone to
daughter
help him.
and grandkids can help take care of him.
I know,
Dog
but
really
like,
can't do
why
that
don't
much.
they move to
Dog,
his
yeah,
house,
see,
which is bigger?
I think probably his daughter's house is bigger. She does have 3 kids. Mr. Merriweather was just living by himself with the dog.
But I only had like 1 kid, including the dog.
Yeah, his dog was his new kid.
Wait, then what about
So that
Mrs.
his
Met-
dogs
Met-
can't help that much.
There is no.
Yeah.
They could if you tried.
Shoot.
So what'd you guys think? You give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
I give it. Let's put it.
Kind of. Was it a little sad at one point?
Yeah, in the middle.
I know. When I picked out the book, I started tearing up because I love my doggies.
Dog, yeah.
All right, you can go back